Welcome, everybody. Wall Street Jesus here. Tuesday strategy session. As we watch, who's in this little piece of garbage? NIO. Yeah, they were just pumping it on CNBC, so you're getting even a bigger push. I know quite a few of you in the room flipped it, but what are you gonna do? You made money. You made money, especially in these markets. All right, let's get right into it. Oops, hold on. All right, cool. All right, everybody has their strategy. Well, I should say every experienced trader has what they feel most comfortable with as far as style and strategy in this type of market. Um, you got to be quick, okay, but at the same time, if you can be tactical, meaning you can take advantage of intraday moves. You don't have to be concerned about, you're not in front of a screen, and if you miss the move, you're dead. So if you're able to take advantage of some of the short-term volatility and these violent moves, um, this is actually, this is a better trading market and environment than we were in. Okay, granted, today you're gonna have days like today where the afternoon is pretty dull, and sometimes you'll get lucky, find a name or two like that NIO that catches some news and squeezes. But more than not, when we get into a little corrective phase like this, especially a lot of you guys who like to play the other side, which I don't, as you guys know, but if you play looking to take advantage of the downside, okay, you're going to get days, especially you guys are going to get days that you can get that trend move, that green to red move, all right, that follow through in selling on an intraday basis and make some money. I give a lot of you guys props who trade both ends in a bull market, a bull trending market. I don't know how in the world you guys can isolate a couple of situations in a strong climate and look to take advantage of downside. All right. So if you're that type of trader, everyone hears the word correction and you get a lot of fear from the media and all, but if you're that type of trader, this is actually a better environment. All right. The only thing is you got to fight some of the emotions that get the best of you in this game. And when you're in a pretty decent bull market, okay, if you're in, from the rallies from the low, it's been a really nice rally. You get used to waiting for that follow through. Okay, you get used to the fact that every time you took profit, stocks just continued higher and you felt like an idiot. So now you got to try to fight that feeling and avoid getting greedy and waiting on that follow through. You're looking for momentum to come into a name. You're looking for red to green. A big problem is that, right? You're buying weakness. You're doing all the right things. You get that push into green, and instead of raising stops and looking to take profit, you're looking for more. You want more. Okay, and then what happens? You get that reversal. The rally starts to fade, and before you know it, you've given everything back and end up in the red. All right. If you're not capable of taking advantage of that movement, it's not something to be embarrassed about or ashamed. You just right now is probably a good time to step aside, shop with the eyes, as we like to say, start building a watch list, start keeping an eye. If you guys follow flow, start keeping an eye on some names that are catching flow further out in time or just flow in general. Okay. Until we get some signs that some of this aggressive selling is over. And to be honest, we have seen, and we've been talking about this for several webinars now, we have seen this aggressive selling while the market was, sitting at new highs under the hood, right? We've been talking about that. There's been like a bear market going from sector to sector, isolating certain groups and just destroying them. All right, so this is not something that just started up here. And I think that's ultimately a good thing, because if this is just a correction and nothing more, we're probably closer to the end than just the beginning. All right, now, if you tell me there's going to be some sort of credit crisis out of this whole equation and it's going to lead to some big debacle, that's a whole other story. But, it's a problem we get into. And as you guys trade over the years, you'll realize you're going to fall into that camp as well. We automatically assume one or the other. Okay. We think either rip or we think crash. And there's a lot of in between for the most part in markets. Okay. And in my opinion, or what I've learned to do to keep me leaning bullish, and trust me, don't listen to anybody, you want to lean bullish as a player in this market. Okay. If you lean bearish and you're one of these players that is looking for all out destruction, and that's the only way you're going to get paid in this game, you're going to end up on the street corner with a cup. And nobody has a rebuttal for me in regards to that. Okay. So you want to always lean bullish, but you also got to realize there are times where, you have to sit, be patient, allow things to set up, and wait for that opportunity again. So if you're into that, if you fall into that category where you can't be nimble, or these moves are too violent for you, you just don't, you don't feel comfortable, you move to the sidelines, and these corrections are a good thing. Okay. Remember how long we were complaining about what are we going to do? We're going to buy AMD every day at highs, continue, right? Remember all that complaining we were doing, that, there was nothing else to do but chase these things higher? Now, a lot of these things, even the strongest names out there, the tech names, the cloud names, you name it, have come in. Okay. Some groups have gotten annihilated. Crashes. They're factoring in the Great Depression. Anything less than the Great Depression, and you'll probably see an enormous squeeze out of some of these groups eventually. All right, but even the strongest stuff, the software names that you couldn't get a pullback, not even a 2-day pullback on, have come in some. And if there is, let's say there's another flush lower in the overall market, and they take some of these strong leaders even lower, that's even better. That's even better. All right. So you allow these things, you allow the market to do what it needs to do. And you just have to keep your eyes peeled for signs and evidence of when this thing may be starting to come to an end. You don't have to nail the bottom. Okay. You don't have to nail the exact lows to be able to take advantage of that. But the biggest trap that a lot of us players in this, a lot of players in this game fall into is that, you get so used to wrapped up into the volatility, so negged out by the chop, so negged out by the selling, and then you stop paying attention. Okay, you stop paying attention, and that's usually when some of the most important signs pop up that there's something big on the horizon. All right. And listen, if you're like me, right, and you're not comfortable, or you don't have the confidence to look to take advantage of both sides, okay, and you're primarily a long player / get into cash when things go against you type player, then you got to understand, even if this is the worst case scenario, okay, and this is a start of a bear market and a downtrend, there will be squeezes, okay, and short covering rallies that would normally take 3 months in a regular bull market, okay, normally take 3 months to see the results of, you're going to see them in 2 weeks in these short covering so-called bear market rallies. All right, so no matter what the outcome is, no matter what this ends up turning into, there's going to be opportunity. All right, there's one equation if you go into 2008 Armageddon style type event, then obviously the least of your problems is going to be making money at all. Even if you're shorting the market, trust me, it's going to be the last thing on your mind if you're in that type of style of event. So don't even think about that yet. Don't even draw that conclusion yet. All right, we take steps at a time, and this is barely a correction yet on some of the indices. Okay, barely a correction. It's just, again, underneath the hood, you look at the overall market, this looks like a minor pullback. But again, underneath the hood, you have some devastation out there. And I think ultimately there's going to be some money there that's going to look to pick up the pieces. All right, so that's the climate we're in. So the playbook for that environment is to be nimble, try not to get greedy, and for me, okay, and a lot of you guys, we're all pretty much on the same page looking at the same things. When we have sentiment and sweepers on our side, that's where we want to get a little more aggressive. All right, does that make sense? So in other words, when we have the crowd leaning bearish, okay, that's normally going to come when there's some selling in price action, weakness in price action. That's normally going to come when you hear CNBC, people on there suicidal. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of noise around that. But when we get sentiment on our side and we start to see call sweeper activity, even if they're small, even if they're playing for just oversold bounces and weeklies and all that, it's irrelevant because we're looking to be quick anyway now, right? We're looking to be quick anyway. So the example I'm trying to make is, let's say yesterday, for example. Yesterday was a perfect example. Okay, we came in with short-term sentiment pretty much set up where the retail crowd was bearish, right? You had to put the call elevated. A lot of the stuff we look at, all signaling that there was a high probability of a squeeze if there was any further weakness. All right. Any sort of call activity we start to see materialize into that, okay, that's our sign that there could be a legitimate squeeze and we got to look to take advantage of that. All right. And whatever it is, if you guys are trading ES, if you guys are just trading SPY calls, if you guys are trading individual names, it's all a preference thing. That's really the truth of it. It's all a preference thing. I mean, for some of us, especially some of you guys, and I don't blame you one bit, you might be better off playing the overall market than trying to pick a name, because there's a chance the market squeezes and you're right on your thesis, but that name in particular doesn't squeeze enough or at all. We see that a lot. Okay, or head south, for crying out loud. Talk to my swing account, all my long positions with time, market squeezes, these things, they don't even have a pulse. So that's a way to avoid getting frustrated, is if you're playing for a squeeze, try to be prudent about it. Make sure you have enough confidence in that particular name if you're looking for the squeeze. Because what happens, the same example I just was telling you about at the start of this whole conversation. Again, example, you have Netflix, let's say, you bought some Netflix calls and you're playing for a squeeze and the market starts to squeeze. And for some reason, Netflix is just not participating and there's some selling. Some analysts came out and said it was overvalued that particular morning. So now what's likely to happen is you're going to hold, even though the market has squeezed a decent amount to the point where you would have probably locked in some profit. You're going to hold a little longer now because you didn't participate in it. And then if the market rolls over and the market starts to sell and Netflix sells with it, you're going to want to kill somebody. All right, so there's added risk, and you may be okay with that risk for the added reward that comes with it. All right, but it's just something to consider in this climate. All right, but that's basically the game plan. So like yesterday, we had a flush, okay, early on, and we saw some call sweeper activity. Again, nothing special, but some call sweeper activity come into that weakness, and manufactured a nice squeeze. Pretty similar today, some weakness. You had a nice morning squeeze. Okay. I think both yesterday and today off the rallies, if you held a little longer, you would have had to absorb a fade, which probably is not likely to happen. All right. So those are the things to consider. Don't get frustrated and don't get hung up on every single move or every entry you find here has to result in new highs. Because for you to get from A to Z, from where we are now to new highs, there's going to be a lot of chop and volatility in the mix. And you got to be really patient, and especially you guys who play options, to sit through all that. So that's my opinion. Okay. Again, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you just move to the sidelines. And before you know it, you'll have an opportunity there. All right. And we could go over, if you guys want, you could fire some questions on some of the things we need to see. We just went through one. If you guys remember, back in February. That was a lot more violent. It happened quick. They don't all happen like that. But you remember some of the signs we were looking for, to try to get a good gauge of when we were closer to the end of that. All right, and that's where, again, out of these pullbacks, out of these corrections and these new setups, I don't know about you guys, but for me as a swing trader, that's where all my profits come from. All my profits. The tough part and the most frustrating part for me, we were talking about this the whole Saturday webinar. As a swing trader, my problem is I have to, no matter how hard I try, I got to be okay with giving back some of those profits off the last quarter of this rally. You understand? So, like, I'm convinced I'm as good as anybody ready to get long at the start of this new trend. Okay? And I got no problem firing and getting aggressive in the first quarter, let's say, of this trend. The problem is up here, where you have to have as little as risk as possible, but still stomach a market potentially going higher so you don't give back a huge chunk of the money made. All right, and that could be, I don't know about you guys, everybody's different, but a lot of people I talk to have the same issue. You look at your P&L again, I'm talking about swing trades now. Okay, swing trading, positional trading. If you look at your P&L, more than likely, your best performance, your biggest winners, all that fun stuff was at least in the first half of that new trend move. All right, so that's what you're hoping sets up out of this. We have no idea how long it will take. Nobody has a clue. Anybody who tells you it's full of shit anyway, so you're wasting your time. Only time will tell. Sentiment's a great thing to keep an eye on, because the likelihood is a lot of those intermediate indicators that are usually around, major bottoms will be there again. Or this could be just, again, a minor pullback where you get some of that short-term sentiment set up, and, we get another trip to new highs out of this. Okay, so again, you take it day by day, and that's what we're looking for here. All right, but other than that, everything here, nothing looks I guess I could say concerning, or nothing looks out of the ordinary here. We were talking about this, if you remember, on the prior webinar. You had new highs here, a little too much bullishness out there. Okay, not January like, but a little too much bullishness. The niner, which we look at, so told us we're probably going to run into a little resistance, and this market's been breathing nicely. I should say the indices are breathing nicely. Some groups underneath, a lot more damage done. All right. And you look at, a lot of names you guys like to trade. I mean, from the FANG names to everything else, these things have come in a good amount. All right. A good amount here. So they're not going straight to zero. You know what I mean? Eventually, these things are going to bottom out, and we're going to start to see some real quality of flow pile up in these things, and these things are going to be ready for another at least tradable move. All right. Facebook already, we're seeing some signs of decent flow coming in. All right. Just a couple orders, but that's how bad the flow has been in some of these things, because they were all cooked. They were all just too cooked to the upside. And you're just not going to see, Norris in the room mentioned it today and got me thinking. He's like, when's the last time we sort of like missile sweepers? Not looking at an order and saying, wow, that's not a bad looking order. That's okay. I'm talking about, high confidence missiles coming into a name. Like I remember, like Netflix used to be a magnet for that, a magnet for those type of orders. Now we see a weekly call sweep and we're like, I guess maybe we could get a little momentum out of it. So, and again, that all had to do with just the market, the rally being a little long in the tooth, some of the hot names being a little long in the tooth. So this is all healthy. All right, right now, you guys, we've been talking about it for a bit. What we've been seeing flow-wise, we've been seeing one of two things. We've been seeing the size activity with a lot of time behind it, right? So people buying in, legging in with some decent size, but they're going out to next year at the minimum, right? We'll see January, February, March, April of next year. We're seeing leaps. We're seeing 2021 leaps. All right, for good reason. They're early. They have been early, but they know ultimately they're looking for a payday on these things, and nice and easy, they get a piece in on the way down. All right. Some of these things look like they already have bottomed. Some have rallied. Some are continuing to bleed. So we're either getting that as far as the quality flow. That's been more of those bull combo type spreads and stuff like that. And then the only other thing we'd get is like, cheap garbage spec action. We haven't even really got a decent amount of that spec aggressive activity where they really come after some speculative name or play. We see like one or two sweeps and then you never see them again. So that's what's missing, in my opinion, from out of the flow in this market. Again, simple example, Facebook, they come after December calls and they annihilate them. Annihilate them. You guys remember, you guys who have followed me or been with me on Twitter or in the room, you remember like these names, what they used to do to these names when they wanted them? I mean, we saw a decent looking sweep in Facebook. When was it? 2 days ago? Okay, one order, but it was a decent order compared to what we were seeing. And then there was another like $300,000 bet today. So 2 orders, okay? One bigger than the other. Facebook used to catch that in a 5-minute span and then catch another 25 of those. Right? You guys remember. They used to annihilate these things. So they're just not, for some reason, God only knows, but for some reason, they're just not getting super aggressive in some of these big names over, over the short term. They're just not doing it. And I think ultimately that will be, in my opinion, the telltale sign when these things or this market is ready to get back in action. Okay, so that's what I got my eyes out for. Because again, we see if you want to buy, if you want to put something away right now, if you want to, find a name that's down, I don't know, somewhere down 50, 60% off the highs, some legitimate companies out there, and catching some flow, some nice size flow with time behind it, you have a laundry list full of names. Hit me up. I'll give you a gazillion names that have seen flow, 6, 9 months out, a year out in size, and that have corrected. We're seeing that. We're just, again, we're not seeing, as traders, we're not seeing that aggressive activity within the 1 to 3 month time frame. That's what we're not seeing. Okay, in names that I know when they want them, that's the type of activity they should catch. All right, so that's one of the most important signs I'm on watch for to see. Like I said, Facebook, for example, you got 2 decent orders near the lows here. You already had, in my opinion, a tradable move off that first sweep, right? Buying into weakness. Yesterday, nice rally. Today, follow through. That was your short-term trade in this type of climate. But for more than that, you really want to see them come after this level here. I don't know if they will or won't. Stock may run from here without it, but that's what you want to see the flow show you, as a tell that things may be different out there. The appetite for risk may be different out there. All right, so that's the market as a whole. Again, the perfect setup of flow and sentiment is where you have those short-term indicators. In other words, a put the call elevated, squeezometer approaching green, and some red on the tape price action wise. All right, some weakness, flat, as long as we're not chasing, and we see sweepers start to get busy on the call side a little bit. That's the play, that's the trade. For more than that, we need to see more out of flow. And we have earnings here now. So who knows? I think it may be a good thing for us as, like I described, as tactical traders. We're not looking to hold through earnings anyway. So it may get shorts to cover, right? You see some sweeper activity in XYZ, and they have earnings in a week. The flow may be related to earnings, but maybe you get some momentum or some short covering because this thing has been battered, and shorts want to take some chips off the table into the number. So possibly it could be a good thing for some added momentum over the short term earnings. But for anything more than that, we probably gonna have to sit, wait, and see how things look after this quarter. All right, as far as where we are at the close of today, I didn't get a chance to really look in depth at the final numbers, but we saw, like, here's a good example. Again, this is just a simple put the call, and I'll give you an idea of what happened here. So you see here, can you guys make that out? I want to keep it like this so you could have some comparisons. All right, so you see that this blue shadow, you see this, right? This blue background, you guys can make that out. That's where the put the call closed, not yesterday, the day prior, off this weakness, you can see. Okay, you can see pretty elevated level. Here's another, again, this is just a simple put the call. All right, this was elevated level, marked the bottom here. So that, along with a couple of the other things we look at, was showing us there was a possibility of a squeeze. We got some weakness. We were lucky enough to get some weakness that following day, sweepers into that weakness, and that set up, squeeze there. And today, weakness, and the morning was strong. It was actually a really nice morning, and then you had the fade later on through the afternoon. All right, so right now, you can see we closed. There was a wash a little bit. See where we are? All right. So same, we're looking for the same thing again. All right, we're looking for the same thing. So in other words, if we get some, let's say tomorrow flattish, and then the next day we get some selling. Okay, and then you see this put the call. Whoop. Okay, that's where, again, we're looking for sweepers to come in to set up a squeeze because bears are a little too giddy. They're getting sloppy. All right, some of the other indicators, for those of you who are in the room on private Twitter, they'll give us a heads up on that materializing before maybe the put the call gets there and so forth. All right, they also confirm it. All right, so that's what we're looking to get out of this. Hold on, let me do this. Oops. Okay, another thing I get that I guess is frustrating from some of you guys and gals is that you get a spike in the put the call, and like I said earlier, this is not enough. You understand? This is not enough to trade. If you're day trading, for some reason, if you're buying weakness, that red to green is not enough. If that's the case, you're going to get chopped up. You're going to get chopped up right now. So you have to move to the sidelines. All right? You have to move to the sidelines. The other thing where you can get in trouble is if you chase. Okay? If you chase. And it happens. Okay? You get a follow through day like this morning. You see some flow and you're buying up here thinking, we're back, baby. And now, whoop, you're already behind the 8 ball. All right. Once in a blue moon, that'll be an okay move if you nail the lows pretty much. Okay. But for the most part, even if you're ultimately right that there's going to be a higher level of the future, you cannot sit through all this pain, especially if you're in options that are short dated. So you want to stick to buying weakness. You want to be patient and wait for them to give you something at your price. Because when you chase in this type of market, when there's some spunk in volatility, right? When you see this stuff start to spike and you're chasing green, you're going to get your rear end handed to you. This is the VVIX. I think she finally ended up green on the day, was down for most of the day. All right, does anybody have any questions, though? Pretty self-explanatory, right? As far as what, and you may think, oh, I'm getting too technical, you're getting too cute, if this, if that. But that's where we are right now, right? That's where we are. We're in a trend move, an all-out bull move. You can get sloppy. You can get away with it. But you have a little correction here and volatility starts to heat up a little bit. That sloppiness is going to cost you a lot of money. So it is what it is. Oh, you know what I'm doing here? Oops. But is it self-explanatory? Anybody having any trouble, especially if you guys who are members or on private Twitter, anybody having trouble getting a handle on what I'm talking about here? Even, you can be tactical, but you're still having trouble interpreting some of the stuff we're talking about. What would be some of the characteristics to look for a blow off top? That's a tough question, Georgia. I really wish I had an answer to that, and I'm not going to lie to you. It's tough. It's tough. Because, like, for example, even when you see signs of a blow off top, all right, the market it fools you. Like, for example, back in January, all the signs were there of a blow off top. And the market just continued to rally right through all those signs. And if you look at a chart, it doesn't even do it justice because you're like, oh, you know what? That's not, at least, it was at least half this move, if not more than that, was through topping signals on the sentiment side. But tops are tough, man. Tops are tough. Tops are tough. It's not the same. It's not the same. And you'll hear a lot of experienced players say that. Tops are more of a process. They take time. Things got to materialize. Events have to happen. You see, like, for example, like now, what's the excuse they're throwing around for us correcting or, some stuff out there correcting? What is it? Interest rates? We've been talking about this. We knew this was going to happen. This has been in the process already. Trade war? China? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, the market will ignore stuff until they don't anymore. And that's why tops are tricky. You can't pay attention to fundamentals. You hear people talking about fundamentals of the economy ad nauseum. And maybe as an investor you can, but as a trader, that's all noise to us. That's all noise to us, Georgia. So the only thing, here's one thing I could tell you. If you're a swing trader, okay, there's nothing you can do, in my opinion, to avoid getting caught at the top. If that's what you're asking, Georgia. The only thing you can do is go into all cash. But the problem is if you go into all cash, you can miss a lot of the rally that would have been worth taking advantage of. You understand? So if you go into all cash, there may be a lot of rally left that you could say it now, but you'll be sick to your stomach. For example, you had, I remember 1998. Okay, we had a vicious correction. All right, vicious. And everybody was calling the top of the bull market. It was over. That's it. I remember I was at a firm. People were outside walking out, quitting. I was like, and that's when I just was getting my feet wet in the business. I was like, are you kidding me? I just got in this game. There's people walking out of here quitting. What the, my timing, right? But meanwhile, it set up a rally out of there that was ginormous until everything blew up in 2000. So if you got out in 98, even if you avoided that correction, thinking you got out at the top, you missed out at the whole 99 into 2000, boom. And there was hardly any bull market like it. That's when internet stocks, you could have thrown a dart. So there's no way, there's no formula. The only thing I can share that I've seen actual traders and players do, and I've shared with members time and time again, is that as a trader, okay, or as an investor, what you want to do as a swing trader, I should say, or as an investor, you want to make sure that early in the trend, at the start of a trend, that's where you want to be most aggressive. And then as a rally continues to push higher without a correction, that's where you want to have less risk exposure as time goes on. So you'll still be involved, but you'll just have a lot less risk out there if and when you get caught. Okay? And that's the problem that annoyed me as a swing trader. What would happen is you'd make money going up. The problem is when the market pulled, you gave back a good chunk of it, if not all of it sometimes. And that's what you try to avoid. You want to hang on to the profits that you make off the sweet spot of the move. And then this, you still want to participate, but have less risk, so that when it pulls, you're not giving back this. Other than that, I have no information to share. If I did, I'd be in a different place other than this webinar, as far as figuring out tops. All right. And again, it depends on, what type of player you are in this game. If you're a short-term trader, there are things to do. There are things to help you avoid getting caught and getting involved at bottoms. And like I said, for me, sentiment, I think, is as close to the money shot, as possible. I know throughout my whole career that there hasn't been a legitimate bottom, okay, off a correction, off a decent pullback. There's never been a bottom where sentiment wasn't at extreme bearishness. Every single time. So those are the things I look for. And then to help me out on the timing, I'm looking for the flow to confirm that. So when we see flow start to improve, that's a good sign that we are closer to the end of what we were just involved in. All right. And as a trader, again, I'm using the word tactical because that's what you're trying to be. You're looking, basically, you're playing for the squeeze. That's what you're playing for, okay, in these things. All right. And so that's the playbook. Like I said, when we got put the calls elevated, we got sentiment on our side, we're looking for some sweeper activity. You don't necessarily have to hold overnight either. Okay. The risk is, though, you're going to miss a gap up, understandably. All right. You may walk in the next day and the market gaps up and you weren't able to take advantage of that squeeze. So, a lot of players that I've traded with, what they like to do is maybe have something with some time behind it that they're looking to hold overnight and be ready to take advantage on an intraday basis of the squeeze as well. So you're getting a little bit of both and you're not missing out, if the market gaps up and runs from there. All right. And the intraday, when you have weakness like it's set up yesterday, that's the best case scenario. All right. Because when we have all the sentiment indicators align and there's weakness that next day, that tells us, the downside from there should be limited. There should be a squeeze on the horizon because everybody's already all lathered up in protection. Everyone's already bared up. And there should be at least a squeeze. All right. Just one more thing I wanted to throw out there too, because I see this misinterpreted as well. Just because you get, especially some of the shorter term sentiment stuff we look at, just because we get a signal that players are too bearish on some of the short term stuff, doesn't mean a bottom is in completely. That's just telling us that there's a high probability of a squeeze. That's it. So in other words, this market from here, this market could head south. There could be another leg lower from here. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. Okay, all I felt confident about was they needed to squeeze them before they do it. Does that make sense? You understand? They needed to squeeze these guys. These guys that rushed into those puts and protection, they needed to get squeezed out before this goes like that. That's what sentiment tells me. It doesn't mean that these lows here are going to hold up, like this did forever. These are short-term indicators. As traders, this is what we want. You may think you want longer-term stuff. Trust me, you probably fall into the category like most of us do. They're not for you. All right, we're looking to take advantage of these moves. All right, so did I get to everybody's questions? Hold on, I see some other ones in here. Yeah, and Ranchero's got I mean, I'll reword it for him, but as a swing trader, if you're a position trader and that's your game, you're looking for bigger rewards. And like Ronchero was saying, you're looking to scrap. You know what I mean? You're looking to claw right here, keep yourself busy, make a little bit of money, make sure you don't have, too much risk you're taking for that little bit of money, and wait for your better setup as a swing trader. That's the way you got to look at it. Again, for some of us who are day traders, we may look at it a little differently, that the volatility here is actually maybe a good thing. Maybe we could day trade more. We'll have more opportunities out there. Because I'll be honest with you, when you get, and a lot of you could probably vouch, you agree with me 100%, once this market rally gets long in the tooth, what are we day trading up here? Like I said, you had Square and AMD going up every single day that you had to chase. That's about it. There wasn't much, I don't know, for me. I'll be honest with you guys. I wasn't doing much. Maybe you guys were. You can't short. You're getting run over. So this opens it up, at least. It loosens things up. And that's ultimately a good thing if you're, like I said, an extreme short-term or day trader. What else? Any other questions? I'll be saying corrections are needed to allow us to set up for the end of the year. No doubt about it. Corrections are terrific when you're ready for them. There's nothing better. That February, you guys remember, we were talking about it. That February panic attack was the best thing that could happen after that blow-off rally in January. We needed that. You know what I mean? A little pullback would have done nothing for us off a parabolic move like that. Anybody who looks at the same stuff I look at, we would have been pooping our bloomers every little day that went on that this didn't happen. You need them to reshuffle the deck. You need that to happen. Otherwise, you'll never get any opportunities and you're chasing names continuously, and that doesn't happen. That's not how this game works. All right? The problem is you don't know, how vicious, how deep, how much of a pullback. Again, you may think you know. You may be looking at Fibonacci's or Liberace's or whatever the hell you're looking at. But nobody knows, in my opinion. The smartest minds on the face of the earth. How do you know if something doesn't end up materializing into some credit crisis or contagion or a run on banks or any fear that may pop up that can lead to additional selling? Nobody knows. You don't know how much forced selling is out there. You see hedge funds going out of business every day. That's probably one of the reasons why we're going through this right now. Right? Wasn't there a big guy? There was a big fund that just went out. Big one. So, all that forced selling, margin calls, all that stuff. People have money outside of this country they're probably getting walloped in. And eventually they have to sell some strength. It's all here, right? We're the only place event that was holding up. And that leads and nobody knows how long or how much this goes on for. But like I'll be saying, when it finally does come to an end, as long as it doesn't end up like a 2008 style event, because that could be devastating. That's, excuse my French, but a shit show. That can get scary. But as long as it doesn't end up materializing into snowballing into something bigger, systemic, they usually last 2 months, 3 months, and then before you know it, you're starting a whole new trend higher. You're starting a whole new trend higher, or at the least a tradable rally over the next couple months. Not something you got to worry about selling the next day because it's going to give it all back. But yeah, good stuff. Great insight on your part, you guys, and questions. But that's what, seriously, that's what you should be excited for. We gotta be patient. That's all. Here's some of the action today. Today, and this has kind of been the trend, like we were talking about for a bit now. We get some decent action early on. Okay. We get some nice price action, right? Market pushes higher, strong. It almost doesn't look like the market's going to pull back. Then lunchtime rolls around, sweepers vanish. All of a sudden, markets start to drip and fade, and you end up in like chop at best, if not fading the whole afternoon. All right. But again, today, this morning, and then we started showing up later in the afternoon, some decent action. It wasn't bad. It wasn't that bad. Some decent action. Here's some of the size sweepers off of Trade Alert there. Encana, that's an energy name. Hasn't done anything. I don't know why recently. This is a tough name anyway, but I'm just saying this Encana hasn't done a thing while energy's been flying here. You guys might know the reason for that. I know she ran into a little niner here, has been breathing off of that. Let me take this, put the call off a second so we go look at it. But yeah, so Encana caught a pretty decent sized bet. What the hell is it? Here it is. November 12th, they open, pays $1.10. J.C. Penney, forget about the banks. Saw action on both sides going into earnings, all earnings flow. eBay, this was a weird one today. I actually played it this morning, but I scalped it. It ended up taking off. And then after, what's his face? Ackman revealed his play as Starbucks. We started to see put action come in, and this thing got hit. And you can see here. All right, so this is the 5-minute chart. You can see right off the open, we started seeing sweepers scramble for call activity. It was probably the best call activity of the morning. There was rumors of an icon stake. There was chatter there. Okay, pretty aggressive activity. And you can see the move here exploded, continued to push higher through the morning. And then, just sort of floated around. And then this is where Icon mentioned the Starbucks. And I guess they thought Icon maybe was going to mention eBay. That was my interpretation. Then we started to see algo put sweepers come in, like there was negative news and some weakness. All right, so that was the story there on eBay today. All that action, I take it. Today's action in eBay. Seriously, this is what I do. Okay, I take the action in eBay today. I crumble it up into one big ball and I throw it down the toilet bowl. That's what I do with the eBay action today. 1, chatter. 2, it was out in the public. CNBC was talking about it. And then there was some put action at the end. So no interest. It was worth a look intraday, but that's about it. What else we got? See, that's bank earnings. Where is this XXII could be a weed play. That's another one of these little stocks. This is repeat activity, XXII. Anybody familiar with that? Is that Zoots? Are they playing Zoots there? XXII. Yeah, that's been repeat activity. Yeah, CSIQ, solar name, day 2 of action there. That looks interesting too. CSIQ. No, it doesn't look bad. Little pull here, quiet. And this is day 2 of buying. Again, just be careful because of the environment we're in, because the problem is, honestly, Valerie, me personally, I'm not looking to swing these things now, but that's because me, I primarily day trade, and then I'm buying stuff with time behind it for the most part. But I would keep a close eye on it if you do play it. It wouldn't be something I hang on to, wait for it to play out. You're looking for momentum and momentum early only, because the problem is, here's the problem, Valerie. If this market does have some further selling, there's a good chance this comes down with it. You know what I mean? There's a good chance this comes down with it. So I would probably sit tight on it. I would keep it on my screen like what I'm doing now for a day trade. Let's say tomorrow the stock is down and I see call sweeper activity get aggressive there. More than likely I'll look to day trade it. But that's what I'm looking to take advantage of now. I don't have too much of an interest on any of that in between action, because it's nothing that good looking. It's nothing too exciting for me. It's not worth the risk. So just stay nice and easy, and just to keep yourself entertained more than anything else. This was a pretty decent sized sweep, Berry, in the worst sector you could possibly be in. Berry. Look at this debacle. So you had more selling in the whole group here. Good looking sweep. December's was just one order. That's it. And you're catching a falling knife is an understatement. All right, you're buying blood here. You're buying blood. Ani's saying Pags up 2 days in a row. It's so frustrating, right? So frustrating. So frustrating. Looks like it's ready to go every other day, and every time she looks ready, it just falls on its face. We saw some. Here's where, in my opinion, the best momentum off flow or sweeper activity was today. It was in the menagerie of a sector, the gambling sector. So you had SGMS, they bought more leaps, they bought more Aprils, they threw around some short-term stuff, small, and you could see here in the afternoon some really strong momentum pick up into the bell. IGT, they've all been doing the same thing. Relentless selling in these things. You remember how long we're talking about IGT? Do you guys realize this thing has been down every single day since? Look at this. What a beating. What a beating. So, yeah, I mean, how long it lasts, God only knows. But you had some flow in all of them today. SGMS, IGT. I'm in SGMS leaps. I've added on the way down a couple of times. I'm looking for a lot more than just a squeeze, obviously. Otherwise, the risk reward wouldn't be worth it. And we'll see what happens. Maybe the momentum starts to shift there. It's very possible. It's very possible. I mean, Ani brings up this PAGS. I mean, look at PAGS. It's been acting different. It's been acting different. Now, one of the reasons why those Brazilian sweepers got paid, so you had that selling stop, the ties to Brazil. Look at this squeeze in Brazil. Huge. Huge. The PBR squeezed with it nice. Big time squeeze. See, and this is what Melly is Brazilian, I think, Ani. I think Melly is Brazilian, that's why. So you should see a lift here as the PAGs, you know what I mean? Maybe the worst is behind them. Now they got to worry about domestic selling now, Before you were worried about the Brazilian markets, now you got to worry about our markets and, tied to tech and all that crap. But the Brazilian selling has stopped for the time being. And that's another thing we could keep an eye out for, rotation. I haven't really, the last rotation we saw was into this stuff, if you remember. EWZ, they came into the lows. FXI, remember back here? Now she's almost back down there again. That was the last signs of rotation we were seeing. Nothing of recent. They bought some of that EFA today. One big block, a niner there. They bought EFA down here. They bought EFA down here. And the big guy's back for some more down here. What is this? A quintuple bottom, for crying out loud? You can see that clear downtrend there too. Yeah. Listen, if you played this EFA off the initial activity near the lows, you could have made money with this thing. You're right, Ranchero. The problem is if you played any of the action chasing, that's what you don't want to do. Yeah. That's awesome. So I would definitely keep my eyes on some rotation, but there hasn't been anything drastic. We saw some EFA. Oops, what'd I do? Oh boy. We saw some EFA, and Brazil's cooked now, so we're not looking for a rotation there. That's hot as a pistol. What other names? Here's another. That whole sector blew up. AXTA, DWDP. Look at this. Off that warning out of whatever it was yesterday. So DWDP, Dow DuPont, caught some sweeper activity. They were buying some short-term puts and buying calls further out. Blood. These are tough though, guys. These are really tough. Unless you're gonna piece into them with some time, like we were talking about with the SGMS, that type of stuff. It's just these are tough. This is coming off that warning yesterday. Who was it? I forgot this. You guys know who I'm talking about. They laid an egg yesterday. PPG, that's it. All the selling is off of that. See? Destroyed today. Destroyed. So, maybe the worst is factored in, but these are tough. You probably want to see them bottom first. Unless, like I said, unless you're going to piece in, you guys know what I'm talking about. Leg into weakness. DWDP, there was a size March call sweeper if you're interested in playing blood with some time. There was smaller action around it and some weekly puts. Let's see. For some reason, am I forgetting? Oh, you know what other name caught action today? Nothing huge, but Square. What do you guys think of this for a trade? Is that enough of a pullback? I don't know. Square caught a sweep, one bet. Now, you guys know, you remember the Square buying we saw? Remember what you're talking about? They would sweep it all day long. So you could wait for that, right? That's when they really want it. That's what they do. Remember when they were sweeping those Julys back here? Where was that? Oh my God, that's back here. Holy moly. So Julys they were sweeping, I think it was right after the earnings here. Yep. And they came after it over the course of a couple days. So caught one bet today, not that small, decent sized bet, but one bet. You also got Dorsey selling like he's leaving the company. Insider selling in Square, as is every other hot tech name out there. All right, but you did have a bull bet on Square, so at least worth keeping an eye on. Especially, tomorrow, let's say there's some weakness and we see some extra activity there. That'll be an opportunity. Just try not to chase green. That's the only thing you don't want to really do is chase green. Roku had some small weekly activity today, worth keeping an eye on for a squeeze. I would call it nibbling in Roku. But you see pullback. Maybe they get tired a little bit over here. Worth keeping an eye on. Look for more action there. Look for more action. Maybe she finds a way to bottom a little bit, and then all you're looking for is that boop. AMD a niner already? Stop it. Wow. That was quick. Holy moly. Yeah, so tomorrow you got a shot at a green 9. Well, a red 9, which would be a green signal. You had the last one was here was where she might get tired. And you see what they did here with this. Got a little tired. It looked like she's getting ready. And then ooh. Yeah, and there was some flow there too. AMD saw some action today. AMD always sees action though. AMD sees action in its sleep. But you got some weakness, worth keeping an eye on that for a quick trade. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. Good call out, Ani. I'll keep that on watch tomorrow. Let me erase this here. All right. So before we pack it up here, anybody else have any decent names? Yeah, Baba's tricky. You thought Baba's the symbol of the China stuff right now. It's tough. I'm eyeing this IQ. I thought they were going to come back today. They didn't. There was some weakness today. So I'm keeping an eye on that. Yeah, NIO just exploded today. Look at this. What are we going to do with this thing now? Now, 8:30. She going. What are the names we got? All right, you guys are throwing out some names here. Boeing. Honestly, I don't have any thoughts, but let's see what she looks like on the daily. Hold on. Yeah, she looks good. She looks good. She looks good. I would look for weakness as any opportunity. A day of weakness, couple of days of weakness. But Boeing looks healthy, man. Boeing looks healthy. But again, in this type of market, you want weakness, and you see like they have these shakeouts here, but you just don't want to chase moves here now. You don't want to chase moves. But Boeing had a nice setup where it caught some action, and she stormed out of here when they were buying the industrials. For me, this is not really my cup of tea because it's a bit extended, already at highs, even though she's breathing a little bit up here. I like more in this vicinity. I'm anticipating the move more of betting on after the confirmation type thing. But that's me. But yeah, she looks healthy. What other names? EA had a little bit of action today. Possible she could turn around. These gaming stocks got hit over the head because interest rates will hurt them, right? They're highly levered and blah, 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 blah. So it just, goes into the rest of the categories there. EA's at lows, I think, right? Yeah. I don't know, tough. Take Two is probably the best one of the bunch. But you got to be careful there too, because this market comes down, they're taking this with it. I would just, yeah, I would look for weakness for, again, just like anything else, for a short-term type trade, red to green off any flow. But anything more than that, I'm not ready here until, yeah, unless sweepers go bananas on these things. These things maybe need to chill out a little bit, frustrate some people. Yeah, C's is Shamu, one of my favorite names of all time. But up here, dangerous for me. What do you think, Pat? You like it up here? Up here, a little too dicey. See, you got this, Patrick. You got a decent breather off, some exhaustion signs there. So you got a decent breather. Yeah, you may get a trade opportunity out of it, but you got a lot of air here. It's had a big move. Yeah, and there's been some flow. That's the way, Patrick. That I could have worded it better. Tight leash is a good idea. You know, tight leash is a good idea. That's exactly what I was getting at. There's a lot of room if it does end up rolling over, but if you got a tight leash and you're looking to ride it from there, that's not a bad idea at all. But yeah, and you've had some flow there, but just keep in mind, Shamu has had flow literally from when nobody wanted him back here. This thing was the worst stock in the world catching sweeper activity, and now it's an absolute monster. Hal, Ani, what's funny? I own a little piece of Hal. Jan calls from where they caught flow. You probably remember, but I wouldn't recommend anybody buy Hal. Tough name, tough name. But yeah, there's been some flow in Hal into first quarter next year. Yeah, but Hal can catch size, so nothing major. CGC, I don't have really an opinion on any of these um, weed plays. This thing has seen bullish activity. She's resting nicely here. Nice consolidation. I haven't seen any really standout order into this consolidation, but the flow has been still bullish. The only one that I saw any new action was it DT? Yeah, there was a put selling. There's DTAEA. So that's the only weed play that we saw any new activity in, with some opening put sellers. The rest of them, the CGC looks decent. You just had a big move, and she's breathing it out right now. STZ, that also, the STZ had a nice move off the lows, caught some flow. Ranchero, Caterpillar, I think we need probably, well, we're getting it, but that's what I was saying, a little breather there. We're finally getting it. Yeah. Yeah, this Caterpillar has set up a couple times already. Has set up a couple times. So, and again, guys, just keep in mind, Ranchero, you got earnings October 23rd. Probably you're better off waiting for that. What other sites do I use besides the ones, Trading View, Trade Alert? What other sites do I use? I got Cole. I got subscriptions to shit that I don't even know I have subscriptions to. You know what I mean? That's the stuff, what you mentioned, that I use pretty actively on a daily basis. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I just can't think straight right now. Yeah, actively for the most part, that's all I use. I got Flow. Did you mention Sentiment Trader? Oh, you mentioned that. Yeah. Um, that's it. That's it. All the other stuff I look. you know, when I discover that I still have a subscription basically. But this is the stuff. If I think of anything, I'll let you know. But I think you got them nailed. How do you make the number positive date count appear on the trading view? Positive? What do you mean the number? Oh, positive. You mean like red or green? Yeah. It's the indicator. The indicator does that for me. You could change the colors if you want. You know, whatever indicator. You go around, you can fool around with the indicator, and you can make them look however you want. You know, me, I got the bars. Well, not I can't take credit for it. A buddy of mine did it for me, but you know, the bars change colors. I got zones on here. He hooked me up, man. Look at this. I'm like a professional. Look at this. I got zones. I got bars changing colors, getting me ready. The only thing he left out is somebody tickling me, letting me know a green liner's on the way. It's the only thing he left out. What other questions we got here? Any other names? Give me some names. I need some names to track. I like UAL, Dave, the best of the three. UAL, Delta, and what's that, Hawaiian? I like this one, the best one. I would look for a niner, which is in 2 days. And if you're looking at an airline, I'd buy this one. UAL. She's the best one. What other stuff we got there? CVNA, good call. That caught action today too. CVNA. Let me tell you something. Monstrosity of an order in leaps in this thing. January 2021 leap buyer. I don't know if I'm going to be alive by then. I don't know if I'm going to be alive to pick up my money by then, but big time bet. So any of you guys, I always get these questions when there's no leap activity, but whoever's out there, you guys constantly ask me if flow, you know, if there's any edge at a flow for leaps, you know, for stuff you want to put away. There's huge. The problem is not a lot of people take advantage of it. All right, but here's one without a doubt to keep an eye on off that activity today. CVNA. I don't know, you know, I heard Kramer pumping this the other day, I think. They do cars, sell old cars on the internet. I don't know who in their right mind buys cars on the internet, but apparently people do. And you got this. All right, there's no rush, even though you got a nice little good-looking 9 there, but in this market, there's no rush. You know, buy it into weakness. You got a strong bull trend. What's the weekly look like on this anyhow? Is this all-time highs on this thing? Jesus. Wow. Whatever they're doing something right, huh? Look at this. Anybody like this CVNA? Good call. Something I'm going to keep my eye on it for any shorter term action. You know, some stuff closer maybe I can take advantage of. This is since May. Wow. What a move. What do they do, Vin? What do they do that's so, this thing was so hot? They really sell cars on the internet? That's what they do, and this thing is that hot? Really? They bring the car home for me? Oh my God, that's me. That's the best thing I ever heard of. They get it. They bring it to me. I'm gonna go on there now. Never have to go to a dealership and deal with all that stuff. Yeah. So, but with all due seriousness, guys, you had some big action in this. Big action, like real money. I'm gonna. Yeah, you're right, Ani. Ani said I ride horses instead of cars now, anyway. So wise guys. All right. What other names? AMRN. That was a big winner. Saw a little put action near the highs here recently. I think a couple people in the room caught, made a little bit of money on the put side. But this thing's just been explosive. There was a little action before the gap up. We hardly pay attention. And then it caught buying every single day after that. I still didn't pay attention. And then finally got tired here, you could see. And there was a little bit of put buying, but nothing much. Nothing much. Yeah, so I don't have an opinion up here. I have no idea. Third point loading up in Campbell's soup. Well, she's back. She pulled back a little bit. I haven't played it since, Ani. I haven't even day traded it, to tell you the truth. Caught some action here and there, but nothing. Now that the news is out there, it's tough. I got to really see some good looking action to get me interested here. All right, guys. Yeah, Walmart, some solid flow there. Had a nice day. Disney, guys. Disney has been a great name. Again, weakness though. Weakness. I wouldn't chase. I wouldn't chase. And not only that, I think the buying into weakness is the best type of action. The true colors come out when you see a good looking order into weakness. A green day, you get shorts that have to protect their rear ends. They buy calls, chasers, people playing momentum. When you get when there's some selling out there and it gets scary, and you see a good looking sweep, those are the ones we got to pay attention to. That's why that Facebook order wasn't anything dramatic for Facebook, but that's why I think it got my attention. Because it came in a spot where you wouldn't want to touch it. So that's what I'm looking for in this type of climate. SYMC Tepper, right? That is Tepper in there. There's been an uptick in flow for a while in this SYMC. You got a dip there again, and a day away from a niner, Mr. Vince. So let's see, prior nines in this thing, you had this one down here, nailed the lows. This one here probably would have nailed the lows, but you had earnings. So she gapped down. This one here, tradable. This one here, smaller lift. So it looks like she reacts nice off of them. Tomorrow, you might get a niner there, Vince. And you got a lot of flow support. A lot of flow support in this. Yeah, Starbucks. The only thing now is you got what's his face in there? Ackman. Cole, what do you use? What do you use, Cole? What charts are you looking at? Cole, why don't you do this? You follow me on Twitter? No, not the stock. What chart service? Hit me up on Twitter, and whatchamacallit, when I get out of here, I'll message you back. So you don't even look at charts. Interesting. Yeah, hit me up on Twitter, Cole, so I know where you are on there, and I'll write back to you. And some of your questions. Yeah, so the SYMC worth looking at, and that's the other good thing. I had one every time I say I'm going to go. I had something else to talk about. I could talk all night long here. You guys want to go to like midnight? We'll go to midnight. The other thing too, if you remember what we were concerned about, and it goes hand in hand, okay? So it wasn't really out of the ordinary, but what we were concerned about a lot of red Niners showing up into bullish sentiment, if you remember. Okay, that's concerning. All right, that's concerning whether you believe in Niners or or not. I mean, sentiment's there, everything lines up. So we felt confident that we'll see some sort of breather. We're starting to see some green Niners pop up. Okay, more and more. C-Train, are you serious? That's you, C-Train, Cole? Oh, Jesus. Yeah, C-Train. Why don't you tell me that's you? I don't know who you are. I thought you're some stranger. I'll either hit you up in the room or on Twitter, whatever is easier for you when I get out of here. C-Train. Yeah, so we had some red Niners show up, a lot of the indices. And now we got some green Niners showing up. So we'll see. We should see sellers get tired. That's what they're for, IWM, green Niner yesterday. Something to keep an eye on. Look at the red Niner. Look at this. Stop like a clock here. This green Niner is interesting. All right. Now listen, and that goes with the process of Niners, right? We talk about it all the time. If this Niner doesn't hold up, if we don't see buyers come in, if we don't see sellers getting tired, okay, that's basically what it's telling us. That is a signal that there's something bigger at play out there, possibly. For selling, liquidation, whatever it may be. Because you could see prior, especially with the indices, okay, pretty much near lows and tradable moves. So IWM is the first, doesn't have to bounce like a Spalding immediately, but we should see not, flow, which we have been. We're seeing some IWM flow. But we should see the selling start to look tired. What's that mean? You get a flush, they try to push it lower, and buyers come in. Okay? You get a little rally, they try to flush her again, and some buying comes in. And you see the selling, they just can't push it lower. All right, that would be a sign of them getting tired. Or, just a straight up squeeze, obviously, like this one back here. So that's what you keep an eye out for. Yeah, and that's why a lot of us have been using this even on an intraday basis, because when you put it together with sentiment and sweeper activity, they all sync up well. It's a deadly mix. You understand? Because they all work well together. You have sellers getting tired. Sweepers, if they're buying calls, what are they doing? They're getting aggressive, right? On the other side. And sentiment, if everybody's already bearish, chances are you're going to see a squeeze. So it all syncs up so well together. I don't know about the details, if in depth about this indicator and stuff like that. I'm telling you how I use it, how some professional traders who introduced me to this use it, and how everybody in the Steam room and on private Twitter are using it. And intraday too, again, if you use it the right way, man, I'm falling in love with it more and more every day, as you guys know who are members. You know, look at today. Okay. Oh, this was before the open. You had a green 9. So forget that pre-market stuff. All right. Market opens. We get some nice action. Okay. You get a nice squeeze right off the open. This is SPY. Okay. This is a 5-minute chart of SPY. Then what happens? Okay. So now what does that tell us? You had a strong move. You had some nice sweeper activity. For me, it tells me, all right, now at the least, we're looking for signs of a breather. Okay. Not just in price action, but the flow itself. Okay. We've been seeing the pattern that sweepers come in on fire off the open and then go silent through the lunchtime hour into the afternoon. Okay. So this was a little before 11 o'clock. And we had some indication of some buyers may get exhausted here. And you can see buyers got exhausted, right? So that's what. Now again, a lot of guys, you guys know Lewis in the room, and a lot of people in the room, they're looking at this stuff in addition to what they were looking at already. And that's the beauty of it. So if you're looking at certain levels, let's say that's how you trade intraday, right? And this 9 happens to come at some strong resistance, you know it's a spot you should probably be looking to raise spots or take profits. And if you get, a nice pull and this happens to be a bullish 9, let's say, right? And it's near a support level or, near enough where you can manage some risk at a support level, the same thing. All this, you got to have your risk management ironed out and some strategy behind it. But again, it's not a magic formula. It makes sense. It makes sense. The majority of us, we don't want to chase strength, right? We're looking to buy weakness and chase strength, especially day trading, and that's why this works well. For me, I'm not trading off a green 9 buy signal intraday unless I see sweeper activity there. No matter what, I got to see sweepers confirm that 9, and then I'll get involved in some way, whether it's individual names or whatever. The other day I bought a little TNA, but that's the only way on my end we're going to look to take advantage of an intraday 9. But again, you guys have a lot of confidence, especially those of you who have been trading a while, in other stuff. And it's just a great addition if you're on this page, okay? If you're not, and let's say you're a breakout trader, I don't know if any still exist, but let's say you buy breakouts, then this is not really for you. I guess you could apply it, right? You could say, all right, this is a red 9, let it shake some people out, and then maybe if it breaks highs, then I'll buy it again. But this is more for buying weakness, selling strength. It works really well in choppy, rangy type climates. But don't think it's some magic formula, okay? In bull markets, in all-out bull phases, you're going to see red 9s. They'll run right through them a lot of times in individual names. When there's a lot of strength in the name, they'll run right through it. Okay, that doesn't mean it doesn't work. There's no it doesn't work or works. That's the wrong way to look at it. All right, it's just a great addition to picking your spots of entry and getting you to do the right thing. Looking to raise stops into strength and looking to buy weakness instead of chase. So that's what they're used for. All right. C-Train, don't forget, hit me up to remind me, and when I get out of here, I'll answer some of those questions now that I know who the hell you are. All right, boys and girls, if anybody is new on here, I appreciate you showing up. And if you have any questions on any of the flow stuff, anything we discussed, go to wallstreetjesus.com, strategy tab, right there. Boom. You got quick, easy to read, short blogs. All right, short posts. I'll probably answer a lot of the questions if you're new to any of this. All right, so you go to the strategy section and it's all right there. Several of them. How to use it, how I've seen others use it, what's a sweep, all that fun stuff. All right. If you're interested in giving it a shot, we got two things we offer. Private Twitter by itself. That's the private Twitter feed, $59.99 a month. And the premium package, which is the trading room and private Twitter, 3-day trial, no credit card. Okay, so no obligation. You don't have to cancel. 3 days. You see what we do, and if you're interested, beautiful. All right, and then it's 50% off the first month for all of that. You get access to this room in here. I'm on audio, video all day long, talking about the action as it comes in, sentiment updates. Niners are on the screen all day, and all the degenerates over here. Nah, I'm just kidding. We got some decent traders in here. Basically showing you how they trade off all these signals. All right. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I love you guys. Good luck the rest of the week. Be good, everybody.